That's the that should be the tagline. That should be on the poster.
Right?
They're kind of flawed, they're kind of a mess, but they're so goddamn likable.
She's a freak in bed. Love to blast through that legacy.
That's enough.
What? Not you. Thank you, goddess.
Oh my God!
First of all, I want to say you were delightful in this movie. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Great.
How do I'm looking at movies like this, and it's weird. I've been thinking a lot about this, how we don't see comedies like this at all anymore.
I know.
I- What was your reaction when you read the script and with a name like, Skunk?
Yeah, no, it was the same as your reaction, which is like, as I was reading it, I was like, this feels like a movie from my childhood. This feels like a movie
Right?
that I remember, but I haven't seen in so long, and I miss. And I was so curious how it was gonna, if Yasser and Isaiah Lester, the creators of the movie, if they had the same feeling that I had about what sort of the tone of it was, and if I'm reading it correctly. I was laughing so much as I was reading it, but I really felt that same way, where I remember describing it to my husband after I read it. Like, this feels like a movie we would have seen in high school and seen 100 times. And then when I talked to Yasser and Isaiah, they felt the same way, and that they miss those kind of movies, and that's what they were feeling and wanting to see again. And I just could not say yes fast enough.
Nice. I love this character. I love Skunk. I just feel like there's something. What was it like, kind of finding her layers and kind of getting into that? Because you just nail it.
So nice. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's like I was trying really hard. Well, first of all, like, playing drunk a lot is actually pretty difficult and harder than I knew it was hard. It's sort of like you learn in acting school that playing drunk is not, you don't play drunk, you have to play someone who's trying to act sober. And I knew it was going to be a little bit of a challenge, but with such a over the top, funny character, the hope is to not make it like one dimensional, and to not to really like add some life, and make sure she's grounded, and I could feel all that in the script. Like, this is not it's not a flat character. There's a lot to her. There's a lot to her backstory. And I just wanted to I just wanted to like do the Lester brothers proud. That's how I feel. That sometimes when you just like are working with people that you love and respect, you just want to make them happy. And sometimes that's all you need to perform. Is like,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I think that's I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like I've said that twice in this interview.
Great.
What the hell is
Good.
going on?
No, good. You better say it a third time, or I'm gonna be
Okay,
pissed.
I'm gonna hit the nail on the head this time.
Oh, there you go.
I love the fact that all of these characters, they're kind of flawed and they're kind of a mess, but they're so goddamn likable.
Perfect. That's the that should be the tagline. That should be on the poster.
Right?
They're kind of flawed, they're kind of a mess, but they're so goddamn likable. And I agree. Like, I agree that I felt that in the script. They're also lovable. Like, Walt kind of breaks my heart. He's so sweet and weird and dumb and lovable. And I mean, Skunk, there's layers to her, and um like, why is she the way she is? And she's been hurt, and she could throw it all away, and she almost does, but there's something about Walt that, like, almost makes her want to live again. And I really love that dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It reminds me of, like, they were going back when we were talking to I was talking to the Lesters. They were talking about how their influences were, some of the Adam Sandler movies and that kind of stuff. I would even go back as to freaking, like, Revenge of the Nerds
Yeah, yeah.
and shit like that.
Totally. Yeah. No, there is, like, I mean, there's like, I do think it pulls from the sort of early 2000s. When was like Dodgeball? Was that the 90s? But the
I
sort of,
could, yeah.
so early 2000s, the 90s, the 80s. I agree. It's something that just sort of went away I can't really think of the last movie. Not that there aren't funny movies. There are so many funny movies. There's just different flavors of funny, and this is a flavor that we haven't seen in a long time that really like jumped off the page to me. And then getting to watch it in a movie theater full of people at South by Southwest, where I was like, I hope this works. And just hearing the nonstop laughter, so much laughter that I was like, you guys are missing some of the jokes. It was just so rewarding and fulfilling and thrilling. It was great. It was great.
Well, it's cool too because you headline such an incredible cast here. There's a lot of fun people in this.
The cast is stacked. The cast is incredible. And like you Susan Sarandon and Paul Reiser, Shameik Moore, Jack A. Like there's so many incredible people, but then also the people that came in for one scene or one day that are it's sort of like it's a testament to the Lester brothers. It really just shows how beloved they are, and they the people that would come in for one little scene are I mean, not that I even need to name them, but they're headlining their own movies and shows. They don't need to come do a little day on a movie, on an indie movie where they're probably getting paid, a bowling ball. But it just shows how beloved they are, and it added so much to the movie. I mean, there's some really heavy hitters. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I also want to kind of give a shout out specifically to both the connection that you guys make as Skunk and Walt. Oh my God, what a joy that is. I mean,
Thanks.
yeah, like what was it like working with him and finding that kind of
Yeah,
energy?
it was great. I mean, Shameik is such a sweetie, and he's so we I'll we met years ago on a movie where he was this. It was a movie called Let It Snow that he was the star of, and I just had a couple of days with him. But we liked each other. I mean, we really, whatever. When you come in and just do a couple days on a movie, it can be very forgettable. But we really clicked, and then didn't see each other again for years until we were on the set of this movie. And we just, he felt a little bit out of his element. He kept thinking like, oh, I'm not a comedic actor. I hope I get this right. Little did he know he's hilarious and so perfect as Walt, and really found his like comedic voice. But his confidence in the very beginning was a little bit like, I don't know if I'm right for this or whatever. He was like, I hope I'm doing it. And very clearly he was. But it was so sweet and lovely to watch him open up and find his confidence. And when you're like a dramatic actor, doing hard comedy is very scary and vulnerable, and can feel just like a little bit crazy. It can feel as vulnerable as doing a dramatic scene where you're having to emote. It's just like the fear of being judged and everything. And I think that he and I really formed a bond of, I got your back, you got my back, I'm looking out for you, you're looking out for me. And then the Lester brothers, like, it just was the way they the like community that they built on that set was so warm and welcoming, and it just felt like anything, it felt sort of judgment free. So trying this sort of weirder, I mean, I don't know if this is a good example, but Walt and Skunk have this sort of like kooky handshake. And that happened in the first take on the first day. That just like, because the Lester brothers really created this sense of like, let's go for it. So I would say everybody had that feeling of like, let's go, let's do this together. Like, we're all down.
Wow. Well, I mean, whose idea was it though? And unfortunately, Shameik's not here to ask this, but was he allergic to shirts at the beginning of the film?
I mean, that is in the script. That was never Shameik. That is Yasser Lester. Walt was like, I mean, that is one of the things I love so much about the character, is how shirtless he is, and how he like ripped off his shirt at the end of a job interview. It's such a funny specific. I feel like there's some scenes where he's like wearing a vest without a shirt on underneath.
Probably, yeah.
For sure. I mean, the costumes are another example of how sort of like thick with comedy this movie is. The costumes, the sets, the props, there's like no inch of the screen that isn't a joke, or isn't like in on the joke, I should say. You know, all the departments really understood the assignment as it's said.